Okay, very good. Good morning.
Good morning,
Lorene.
Peg. How are you today?
Do you ever have a sense we've done this before?
I think so.
We've met under similar circumstances.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. I was so happy when you quickly responded. It's a private joke.
Yeah, private joke. 4 times, Mommy. Yeah, 4 times.
Anyway,
okay.
the Spirit knows when the time is right.
Yeah.
Remember that, Jacob. Okay, the Spirit knows. So let us not saunter any longer. And you are coming to us from Adrian, because you're here for a meeting, but you reside presently in Shoreline, Washington State.
Right.
So,
I did.
and your beginnings were not there. They were in,
I was born in Mandan, North Dakota.
okay,
Okay.
my first person that I've interviewed from North Dakota.
My first
Yes,
person from
yeah.
North Dakota. So
Yeah.
you just want me to go? Okay.
No, just go on with your beginnings.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was born in Mandan, North Dakota, and my parents, Fred and Isabel, were farmers. And our cultural background is immigrants, German immigrants from the Russian steppes.
Oh.
So I grew up in a bilingual home. And when I was 6, my parents sold the family farm. I'm the youngest of 6.
Okay.
Selma, Eleanor, Leona, Edward, Carol, and me.
Thanks for naming them. That's important.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, they are. The sad part is there's just Leona and me who are walking on earth. The others are walking some heavenly space.
Oh, my.
Okay. So, but then when I was 6, my family sold the farm and we moved to town. And my father started a truck lining business, and he hauled cattle and hay and bricks. And then in the mid-50s, there was that economic recession, and my parents made the decision to move to Seattle. My 3 oldest sisters were already married, so it was Ed, Carol, and I, who are still at home, who moved west. But within about, I would say 3 years, my 3 sisters with their families all moved west too. So we're together. My family, for all 4 generations, numbers around 60 or 65, and we all live in the greater Seattle area, except for 3. And we try before COVID. Everything is always before COVID. Before COVID, before COVID, before COVID.
Part of our history.
Yes.
Yes.
We would get together annually for a picnic. So we're, one of my grandnieces reminded me last week, Aunt Leanie, that's what they call me, Aunt Leanie. She said, we need to do a picnic again. I used to organize them, and when we had Rosary Heights and the swimming pool and all of that, in the picnic grounds, we would forever go out there and on a Saturday in the summer, and we'd picnic and swim and just have a great time. The guys would play basketball on the
See,
court.
your nieces and nephews would want to come and visit you because of where you lived, Puget Sound. I mean, it's gorgeous up there.
Yeah, Mother House was on the
Right,
cliffs of Puget Sound with the Olympic Mountains.
I know,
The Olympic
magnificent.
Mountains,
Yeah.
it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
But they still come to see me
I'm
even when I
teasing.
don't have beautiful place to come to. Yep.
You've been good to them. That you helped raise them.
Yes, I always say I'm the youngest of the nieces and nephews because
The youngest?
Yeah, the oldest.
oldest, yeah.
The oldest of the nieces and nephews. My sister Selma is 11. She's the oldest, and she's 11 years older than me. And then I'm 10 years older than my first nephew. I have 7 nieces, 7 nephews. I did a lot of babysitting, from about 11 on through high school. But I also did work at a hamburger place in high school, and I flipped hamburgers and made ice cream cones.
Very good,
ice cream
very good.
cones.
Now, your family life, I didn't ask you this one before, but does your family have any funny stories about you as you're growing up, when all of you were there before the oldest ones got married, that they always tell?
I don't remember so many about me.
Okay.
I remember stories about, you know, the for older ones.
Okay.
You know, because I was on the farm. I was 5 or 6 when we left the farm. So,
So you weren't all, you didn't all the 6 kids grow up together, so to speak. You know, what was it like
I
around
was-
the kitchen table, the living room?
oh, the question, we always sat at the kitchen table,
Yeah.
and Mom and Dad sat at their separate places. But one thing, I don't know if I want to know this, but, you know, in terms of, you know, Fridays, you didn't eat meat. And one of the common things is we had cornmeal on Fridays, which we used for substitute for like mashed potatoes. It wasn't until I got in the convent they served it as a breakfast cereal. I never understood that because it was an evening thing. But Dad always put sugar on his and Mother put salt and pepper on hers. And so it was splits. Half the kids did sugar and half did salt and pepper.
Interesting.
And it's the same thing with like stewed tomatoes. Dad would put sugar on Mother, and I put sugar on my cornmeal, but I put salt and pepper on my tomatoes. So
Interesting.
we did. But we all sat around the kitchen table. I remember as a young child on the farm baking bread, and Mother would bake bread, and she would have it ready when my sisters came home from school, so there would be hot bread. And they went to school on horseback, and in the winter they took a wagon to country school. They went to country school, out in the
West.
Yeah, out in the middle of no place in Mandan, North Dakota.
I'll have to check that out on the map and see where that is.
Close to Center, North
Okay.
Dakota. We lived in Oliver County.
Okay.
That was your address.
Okay.
Center Route, Oliver County.
Okay.
And the mail got there.
So then you went to school, grade school, high school. How were those years?
I went to St. Joseph's in Mandan, taught by the Benedictines. And then I started 6th grade in Seattle at St. Alphonsus, and I went to Holy Angels Academy for girls for high school. And that's where the Edmonds Dominicans taught.
Okay.
So at St. Alphonsus and there. And so that's where I met the Edmonds Dominicans, and wonderful people there. Maureen Rose became a mentor and a lifetime friend, Sister Maureen Rose. They always thought it was like her nickname, but Rose was her family name.
Okay.
Heck Rose.
Rose.
Yeah. So, and then when I entered, I was fortunate enough, by the time I came along, we all had our education before we ever went out to do ministry. So I attended Seattle University, and we had what was called, Seattle University had a school called College of Sister Formation.
Okay.
And it was a separate college within the universities, like engineering or nursing. And the 7, we call them legacy communities.
Okay.
They're the 7 communities that came to Washington Territory in the
7 communities of
religious women who
Okay.
came in the 1850s. And to this day, those communities, those 7, still serve in that diocese.
Interesting.
And so we, as young sisters from those 7 communities, we all went to college together in the College of Sister Formation of Seattle University.
Okay.
So then, and that made great for collaboration.
Right, wonderful.
From 1956 on, collaboration when they formed the college. So we grew up as young sisters
That's
in college
interesting.
together, and then did joint ministries in the diocese. So I got a BA in social science with all the requirements for teacher certification. And then I had the opportunity to do a Master of Arts in History and a Master's in Theology. And then I did some postgraduate fellowship work where you get somebody else to pay for the tuition. Fellowship work in American Studies at Pepperdine,
Okay.
right, which is right on the Pacific Ocean, and NYU at Stony Brook and Marymount Loyola those kinds
So
of things.
highly educated woman.
We all
religious,
are.
Yeah.
We
yeah,
all are.
Yeah.
We all are,
Yeah.
to bring our gifts to the people.
So then you went to high school. You enjoyed the high school.
I loved high school.
Okay. And then you decided, you got tapped on the shoulder by the Spirit to come to religious life. How was it for you? How was your call?
How was my call? I've shared with you previously, this was never my intent to do this. I was
right.
always wanted to get married and have children and do that kind of thing. And I'd shared with you before, it was my sister Carol who always had a towel over her head and was playing nun
She
and
was the nun.
and with neckos, you know,
Yeah,
you did
necco
Holy
wave.
Communion necco wavers. Well, Carol.
Isn't that funny that
Yeah.
we all have,
Yeah.
People our age have all that in our history, those necco waves.
So Carol married and had children and grandchildren,
Yeah.
and here I am, and here I am. So Sister Maureen Rose tricked me. I always said that to her. She tricked me. She said once, "Do you want to go out to Rosary Heights?" Sure, as high school girls, we would go out there. I think it was to try to foster vocations subtly, and sometimes
it worked.
It worked.
It certainly
So to
worked.
foster vocations, and she said to me, I'm a senior in high school. Oh, must have been early September or something like that. "You want to go to Rosary Heights?" "Oh, sure, I'll go to Rosary Heights." Or maybe it was later. I came home with an application. I had just, well, so Mom and Dad, look at this.
Did you know
this.
what that piece of paper meant?
No, well, it was an application. I'm going, whoa, wow. So I brought it home and I showed it to Mom and Dad, and we talked. And it took a while, and it was in my family not an unheard of thing.
Right.
On my father's side of the family, there were 6 or 7 cousins who were Benedictines, and my mother had a sister who was an Ursuline,
Okay.
and my mother had entered the Ursulines also one
so
time.
Part of
And-
your DNA.
yeah. See, so I did the thing, and we went shopping for black socks and the shoes and stuff like that.
Did you have to make your outfit?
No, it was given to us
Oh,
when
you
we
had to
got
make
there,
yours.
our black outfits,
yeah.
and so I thought, well, I'll give it 6 months. That's what I'll do. I told you that before.
Yeah.
I'll give it 6 months. I'll give it 6 months. And at 6 months, I said to my confessor, I said, in confession, "I think I want to go home. He said, "Well, why don't you talk to me? Come and see me in 6 months." So, okay. So then I received the habit, and I'm the first-year novice. We did full year, 1 year postulant, 2 years novitiate. And so first-year novice, I thought, man, I'm, okay, 6 months, okay. So you plug along, and then sometime when I was in the spring, I think, of my first-year novitiate, I thought, I'm going to give this a real try. So here I am. In August of this year, it will be 60 years that I entered. So I'm giving this
You're
a
still
try.
giving it a try? Come on.
I said, but every day we give it a try to make it meaningful.
Right, we do.
And
I
that
think
commitment.
another point I wanted to ask was, when you made profession, did you get another name, a religious name, or you were able to keep your own?
We submitted 3 choices, and one of the choices, my third choice, was my own name. And they gave me my own name.
Oh,
So I was the only one in our group of 10 who had their own name.
another tap by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I neglected to ask you that previously, because many times our benefactors watch these stories, the sister stories, and they don't know us by who we are now.
Yeah.
They know us by back in the days when you
Yeah.
taught those,
Yeah.
for those 40-some years. You know, you had a different name. So
Yeah.
anyway, you've always been and always will be Lorene Heck. Well,
Yeah.
you're still making your mind up. Do you
Yeah,
want
well,
to
I'm
be
still making my mind up. But one of the things is, like, I taught 6 years grade school at St. Luke's, and then I did 40 years at Bishop Blanchette High School. Loved it.
And where?
In Seattle.
In Seattle.
I live Seattle. I've been in Seattle since I've been 11. So here, you know. So green and mountains and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my.
yeah,
Oh my.
yeah, yeah. So, but teaching, you know, over the years when the students got their schedules, they had, I can tell what era my students were by what they call me. So when they first got their schedules, I was Sister Lorene. So there's an era where they call me Sister Lorene. And then, because then my name appeared on there with your last name, because they never gave the sister's last name. Heaven forbid that you should know that. So then the schedule came with Sister Lorene Heck. So there's a group that calls me Sister Lorene Heck. So then the schedules come out that they just have Sister Heck. So then there's a whole vintage that calls me Sister Heck. That was my last segment of teaching. So they're sisters. So when they see me and greet me, and how they greet me, I have a sort of an idea.
Gives you a quick, isn't that
So
fascinating?
Sister Heck. So now, and I used to hate that, but here I am. I'm Sister Heck.
That's an interesting story. Very good.
Yeah,
Very
I'm
good.
Sister Heck.
So you taught at this high school for 40 years.
Yes, I did.
What energized you for those 40 years that you didn't? I know you loved teaching.
The students.
The students.
The students, just to...
And families.
The families, the students, and, you know, where I taught, you know, they tried to really create, it's called the Blanchette family, so it's very relational oriented.
Yeah.
So it was family.
Still.
Yeah, still. And so then the expectation is that, you know, because they're your children, so faculties at ball game, I have been to more rock dances and ball games.
Did you join in?
Well, sometimes I
Yes,
danced
good.
with the kids. Sometimes
Yeah.
I did, and so you had you know chaperone dances, you chaperone proms, or you are one of the staff people who's present at the volleyball game or the basketball game, or you know all of those kinds.
You were very involved
or
in the
you-
community
yeah,
where you
and-
were.
or you
kids.
work on the retreats. You know, there are retreats when they take days off of school to go for retreats, and faculty do that too. So it was, yeah. And part of that, I think, is it's certainly the dedication and the desire to be with young people and to nurture them. But I come from a family that's really hardworking, honest, you know, faith-filled. So I have that background, hard work. I don't know, you know, hard work. My whole family doesn't know anything but hard work.
Well, farming too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care what part of farming. I mean, I think we all have that.
Yeah.
You know, the farmers, it's just, it is very hard work. So you're at that school. What prompted you to step aside from that teaching that you absolutely, positively loved every inch of it?
Well, I think it was that spirit that taps on the shoulder again. I had been asked before about leadership in the Edmonds community too, and I thought, no, I don't think so. A number of times, no, I don't think so. So this time I thought, okay, I'll be open to the spirit, and I'll leave my name in because I won't be elected. I won't be elected. I won't be elected. I still remember after the last vote count, Janet Scheffler was our facilitator, and then they call out the sisters whose names, and I still remember her putting her hand on my shoulder. And she said, "We have a new chapter, Paris." Oh.
Who is she?
But when I think about that and I say that now, I can still feel Janet's hand on my shoulder. I can still do that. Okay. So
I remember
did-
when you were
yeah,
up and then when you were elected. That was wonderful.
Yeah. So 6 years, and I was extended 6 months because of COVID and transition, all of that. But one of the things you asked me was what was one of the most transformative in my life. And there are different things in different periods of your life. But I would say being chapter prioress and being on leadership council, it challenges you to growth in a much different way. And I am so grateful for all of the grace-filled moments that I spent with the sisters and that I spent with Sister Attracta Kelly's team and Sister Pat Seaman's team. I only can say grace. That's all I can say, you know.
And how blessed the women were out west
yeah.
to have you also as their companion
Aren't
as
you
they went
nice?
through no, I'm very
Merger.
sincere when I'm saying
Yeah.
that, right? I don't think we ever know fully the impact that we have or the impact of all the people with whom we have been in ministry with and in some capacity have served them, because they always serve us back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
You get more back than
Right.
you give.
Right. We keep hearing that, and we know we've experienced it. What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun?
I'm always interested in that.
I love to read. I
Okay.
love to read. I like movies.
What kind of movies? Or does it make a
I
difference?
like what I would call docudramas.
Yeah, yeah.
Things that, you know, bring stories like, for example, one of the most recent ones was Figures, where the African Hidden Figures, right?
Yeah.
The African American women who were the women who did the figuring for the space program. In the last couple of weeks, I've watched a couple of films, newer releases on some of the resistance movement. It's my historical bent.
Right.
Some of the resistance movements in Norway during World War II, which I didn't know much about. And it was a film based on a true story. And one of the women's resistance movement in France.
So historical.
Yeah,
Historical.
And I think that's probably why I like Jane Austen. I love
Right,
Jane
right,
Austen,
right,
Jane Austen,
right.
Regency romances. And I love Jane Austen's work because it's a period when she gave women spunk. You know, she gave women spunk.
Yes, we can have good modeling in what we read in movies that we see, and the determination of people. I just watched a documentary on Bocelli.
Oh, did you?
Yes, awesome. Well, again, and people are where they are many times because of their families and the insistence and how they were handled by their parents when they do have some limitation. That's always inspiring. And I keep saying, Peg, you complain about this or that. Come on. Yeah. Is there anything that you've always wanted to tell the public about yourself that we wouldn't know just by listening to your story?
Well, you asked me that in those prep questions, and I thought, you know, what you see is what you get. What you see is what you get.
Okay.
I think of myself as just a very ordinary woman. And so here I am. You know, that's how I see myself.
Good.
No,
Good.
I don't think any surprises.
One more question.
Yeah.
Your favorite scripture?
My favorite scripture. Yeah. Last time you asked me, I love the prophets.
The prophets.
The prophets. Isaiah talks about, I will take their hearts of stone and give them hearts of love. So, and then Ezekiel, I love that part for Ezekiel. It prefigures resurrection, and it said, oh, I saw this valley, and these bones were so dry. They were so dry. But then I saw those bones rising, and they had flesh on them, and they rejoiced, you know. And then I like Hosea. I like John in terms of all of the scripture around the resurrection. And in Thessalonians there is, be glad and rejoice in the Lord always. Be glad and rejoice. I have that sort of word art on my wall in the living room to sort of remind me that's what I'm doing, is to be glad and rejoice always.
And there are days you want to just say, yeah,
I don't want to do this.
who said this? Right,
And be
right,
glad
right.
and rejoice always.
It's all those.
So
Well, any last words that you wish I would have asked and I
I
didn't?
don't know, because last time we talked, we talked about other things. So,
Interesting.
So I don't think so. I think we did.
We talked about what we needed to talk about and what we all needed to hear from
Yeah.
you.
You asked about
Yeah.
my role in my family, though.
Okay.
My role in my family.
I thought you were the youngest, so you were the spoiled.
Well, sometimes they would say that, and I remember once I must have been having a little fit. Heavens, would you know? My mother said to me, "You'd have never survived if it was all of the kids living at home." Is what she said to me.
Oh.
So I don't know what I had done. I don't know what I had done, but it must have been, because I remember that. You never survived if it was still all of the kids living at home.
That's good.
So I don't know that, but I think I talked about being the youngest of my nieces and nephews. And
The oldest of your nieces
the
and
oldest,
nephews.
I will say that, oldest of my nieces and nephews, and sort of the role in the family. But as a Dominican, some of my nieces and nephews describe me as the family chaplain.
What
They
a
do that.
tribute. What a
They
nice
do that.
tribute.
I remember just not so long ago, one of my nieces, he introduced me to somebody that way,
Wow.
as the family chaplain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I got to do some work with my nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you ever so much, Lorene Heck.
You're welcome. Lorene Heck.
Lorene, Sister Lorene, Sister Heck.
Yes, Sister Heck.
Thank you ever so much for your spirit and sharing your story and all the graces that you've received and how you shared them so beautifully with others. And we are so privileged to have had that merger years ago and how that has helped us grow and appreciate our sisters even more. So thank you so much. Enjoy your new ministry. Have fun these next few days.
Meetings.
And meetings. So it's been a delight.
Yeah.
God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Peg.
Okay.
Blessings on you too, and
Okay.
your work. Thank
And
you.
blessings on Jacob.
Jacob. Blessings on Jacob. Okay.